what users will do with third-party extensions when it comes for this extension to the preview on wave.google.com. So the next thing is David's going to come up and speak to an overview of the APIs and also touch more on the roadmap of what we're planning to build in the APIs. So you'll get a good introduction and see what's coming next.
Hey everyone. Oh my, echo. Can you hear me all right? Stand right here is good? All right. Bear with while I hook up. Test. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, that's better, kind of. Okay, so my name is David Byttow. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit, give you an overview of, well, two things. The current state of things today, and then I'm also going to talk about what we're planning in the future. So you'll see I put up here my Wave Sandbox account. You can add me, wave me anytime, ask questions, so on and so forth. And then, of course, my email account as well. So let's get started. Okay, so here's a breakdown of what I'm going to talk about today. Number one is embedding. Essentially, embedding your waves or waves you've created or other people that have created across the internet, right? The other thing is gadgets. Essentially, embedding Google gadgets into Wave. Then one of my favorite topics are robots. Essentially building robots that can serve you, do things for you. They're participants on the wave just like you are. Then, as Lars mentioned, I'm going to talk about extensions. This is a new feature that we're rolling out actually today, which is a means of sharing your applications on Wave. And then I'm going to discuss the roadmap, something that's new that we're going to be publishing about what we're going to be releasing over the next month or so. So let me just get a quick survey. Can you raise your hand if you've actually played with the Embedding API? So about seven or so. How about a gadget? If you build a gadget for Wave? Again, about 7-ish. Any robots, robot builders out there? All right, everyone, more people, about double that, building robots. And I guess that's about it. So that's good. Hopefully, this talk will get you thinking about something you'd like to build today. I think we're going to be doing demos later, Dan? Yep. 5:30 at the end of this, we're going to be doing demos of everything that you've built. So think about it. So the developer sandbox, I'm assuming most of you are familiar with this at wave.google.com/a/wave sandbox, or just wave.google.com has a link to get access to your sandbox account. The documentation is available on our code site account, a link there. And then finally, you can stay up to date on all updates that we're rolling out with our blog at googlewavedev.blogspot.com. So why build on Google Wave? Well, first of all, real-time is built in. And to me, that's real awesome. And I have no more to say about that. Okay, so workflow. I like to think of Wave as a new means of workflow, right? It's focused on bridging the gap between communication and workflow, as I mentioned. So you can think of today, we have separate applications for everything. We have separate applications for email, for your Word document. You end up with 20 or so windows open throughout the course of a day while you're working. So we're trying to bring this together into one application. Third is leverage. We want you to leverage this new technology that we're working on. Again, real-time components, playback, workflow, so on. Finally, this is a new thing, is opportunity. I'd like to see a lot of new businesses being formed out of this effort. I would assume a lot of burgeoning businesses will come out of the Federation, which is we're having a hackathon on tomorrow, and then also robots and other applications and so on. So this is all new. It's we're still figuring this out, but hopefully you guys can make this work. So why are we here? Well, again, Lars mentioned that developers, well, he touched on this. Developers are the key to the success of Google Wave. I mean, what made Windows a success? Essentially, I think it was, developers, right? So this is key with Wave. And this is why we're opening it up so early to you guys. We want your help. We want your feedback. We want to know what's difficult, what's easy, what's cool, because we don't know, right? So also, a few bullet points. Just a few things that I actually personally wrote down. There's a lot more to it than this. But I think Wave is an exciting technology, obviously. That's why we're all here. It can help solve a lot of problems. It can help increase productivity. We're already seeing that on the Wave team itself as we've been using our own product for the last year or so. Finally, to just kind of breathe life. We've been waiting for a new, Twitter's cool, Facebook's cool. These are all really cool features. But to me, this is really exciting, and it's just a new breath of fresh air. And finally, this is also essentially, like I mentioned with workflow, and that is that Google Wave you'll find has a vast range. It can solve all kinds of problems once you think about it by combining these various APIs and extensions we've created. So let's talk a little bit about embedding. Essentially, an embed is, you have your website, and you can embed a wave today on that website. All it requires is a simple script include. That wave will talk with our wave server. So it's actually really easy, right? What we'd like to think is that you can embed waves onto your website without any intervention, or without it even looking like Google Wave. Visitors should be able to use Wave on your server without them even knowing that they're using Google Wave. So let me give a demo of that. First, let's look at some sample code. As I mentioned, it's as simple as a script include. This HTML script is essentially just embedding a div on the page, adding a script include, and then writing some JavaScript to embed or to associate that div with a wave panel, right? So I'm not going to go into detail right here, right now, because for time, but I will give a demo of this. Oops, I missed a slide. Okay, bear with while oops, sorry guys. Right, so here's a small local HTML file. As I mentioned, just like the slide, there's a div, some JavaScript. And what's happening here is I'm linking directly to a wave on the Wave sandbox. And I'm also going to set some colors as well. So let's see what this looks like. Oops. I should actually show you what that wave looks like in Google Wave. So this is very simple. Hello world. I'm an embedded wave. It's in the Wave client. Let's see what it looks like on my website. So that's essentially it. And I've colorized it to look like a nice terminal window. So this is all linked together as well. So I can come back into the Wave client. Oh no. Oh, there we go. So this should be real time. So I can come in and oh, this window is too big. Sorry, guys. I really don't know what to say. I'm just typing things. And there it is, updated in the Wave. As you can see, this looks nothing like Google Wave, but yet it maintains all the functionality. In fact, let's try something. So the question is, does the person visiting the site looking at the Wave have to have a Wave account? Yes, today that is the case. I'm actually going to talk about that briefly a little bit later, about our plans for that. Sorry guys, this is what I talk about having a million windows open. Let's embed a map gadget. Let's switch back. Oh man. You shouldn't have to refresh. I'm going to blame this on the network. Black screen. How's the wireless out there? Blame you guys.
Yeah, there is a RJ45 right at your fingertips.
Oh. Dan with his big words.
RJ45.
Cat 5? RJ45, same thing. Okay. Let's try one more time and then we'll move on. Maybe one of you guys can actually. Oh, there it is. It's a wave. Right. And I'm moving the map around. I'm somewhere in the Pacific. Yeah, that was supposed to be cool, and you'd see the map move around, but okay. Let's move on. Anyway. Right. So let me give you some ideas. If you want to, try and embedding waves on your own site, here's some ideas. I already did the first one, which is embed my favorite wave on my website, which is not published. Second, you can actually create a robot that would add and that would embed waves for you, right? Because the idea is you only need a wave ID. So robots, no wave IDs. So the flow is this, right? You create a wave, add a robot. The robot essentially then gets the wave ID, contacts your server, stores the wave ID in your database or whatever, and when visitors go to your site, they get a full listing of all the waves that have been published to your site. And that's essentially our bloggy demo, if you've seen the demo. That's basically what it does. I used wave symbols to denote difficulty. That's just what I assume difficulty-wise. Another thing is build a content management system, right? You could build an entire web page or a website just that essentially serves waves as the main form of content, which builds on building a robot. And then, you saw me embed a map in the wave. You can do the same with any other gadget. You can build a web page that allows people to play chess together just by creating a new wave, embedding a chess gadget. Again, you can have a robot do this, and you have chess. So that's a kind of neat idea I've been wanting to build for a while. So. I'm sorry? Well, it's stored on the server. Right, so I can definitely get into that a bit more later. So I want to get through this, and then we'll do some Q&A later on the panel. The question was, how is the data stored? It's an XML structure, and we're actually going to be talking more about that tomorrow at the Federation Day. But definitely just hold on to your questions, write them down if you have to, and we'd be glad to answer them after this. So let's talk about gadgets, more than just a game of chess, right? Okay, what are some gadget features in Wave today? Well, we allow real-time updates. I can't really think of any Wave containers that allow built-in real-time gadgets that I can think of. There might be some. Another one is participants, right? In the Wave, we can have participants added to the Wave. So you can have participants all collaborate and work on the same gadget at the same time. And this opens up all kinds of possibilities. You inherently get state management. most gadgets today are stateless. They're client-side unless you're going to call your server. We build storing data in the wave directly in with revision history. So you get playback, which is the fourth bullet point. You get playback for free when you embed your gadgets in the wave and you just do normal state updates. So this is interesting. You've seen our chess demo where you can play back the history of a chess game just by virtue of storing the chess moves in the wave itself. This is also interesting for things like poker, any other kind of games. So how do you get a gadget? Well, you have a couple options. First of all, you just really need to be able to host your gadget and make it publicly accessible to Wave. We have a thing, Google Gadget Editor, which is simply a lightweight code press-based editor at this URL. Essentially, it's code.google.com, and then just look for gadgets, and you'll be able to find some links to the Google Gadget Editor. Sometimes I use that. I just paste some code in if I want to test it, and then it gives you a URL, and you can embed that URL in Wave. But as I mentioned, any public location will do, right? App Engine's fine. I set up an application, an App Engine, which is essentially a depot for all my gadgets, so you don't have to use any app IDs. Your own website, your friend's website, whichever. So how do you add a gadget to the Wave? Well, there's a few answers here, each one of increasing difficulty. Simplest way is to just use our debug menu. So I was supposed to have a screenshot here, but I'm actually going to run through it really quick after this. But in the debug menu, you see at the top, there's a drop-down. Click the extension submenu, and there's an option for add gadget. And you just paste your URL into there. Also, you saw I had a map gadget on the toolbar menu. You can add those as well, and that's with our new extension system, which I'll be explaining later. And finally, robots. You can add a gadget, so robots can add gadgets as well. You can build a robot that once you embed it on the Wave, it'll put gadgets into your Wave for you. So here's some tips real quick. In Wave, you want to be able to, have your content of your gadgets be dynamically sizable, so things don't get cut off, too big, so on. So we have the feature required dynamic height. There's more information on this in the documentation at code.google.com, so feel free to check that. But I just want to let you know that that works in Wave. Oh no, technical difficulty. Okay. I see a lot of Macs out there. So if you're running Safari 3 on Mac OS X, there's certain versions where gadgets can be a bit flaky. You'll notice state updates are different for various people. We're working on that, but for right now, a potential solution is to use Firefox 3 or Safari 4. It's safe to upgrade to Safari 4 for Wave. Just a couple other things I want to touch on. It's important to tightly couple your rendering with the state, right? The state essentially dictates the rendering of your gadget. And if it's absolute, whatever the state is said, whatever Wave says the state is what you render, right? So this works well with playback. When you play back, we essentially give you a state, you render the Wave, or render the gadget in that state, and that's how playback works. You don't want to submit deltas, is one thing, right? Because deltas won't work when you do playback. Well, it won't work because you've built up deltas in your gadget locally in the client, and there's no absolute state there. So I'm going to do a demo, but here's just some gadget ideas. Tic-tac-toe, very simple, right? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, try it out. It's a good test of gadgets. Here's something a bit more difficult, is server authoritative gadgets. Gadgets are completely client-side, data stored in the Wave, and the Wave is public. That's not very secure, especially if you're getting into games like I mentioned, poker, where you're storing everyone's hand in the state. Well, if I can essentially look at what's coming over the wire and see everyone's hand. So what you really want to do is to be able to submit data to your robot, have the robot store that data, and only send data or send other pieces of data back to each user, right? And as I mentioned, one way to do that is with a robot. You can kind of think of this as like a robot just being a server and a gadget just being your browser. This is essentially how you build in security. Another one is a collaborative to-do list, right? I want a wave. I add my friend. We're collaborating on something. It's a very simple gadget. We can add our to-do items, remove them, so on. Another good use case. Another one is I put whiteboard here. You could do collaborative drawing. If you have a Flash-based app where you store, being able to do drawing and little sketches and so on, that's very easy to build. Another thing. And that's the Google whiteboard that I've actually put an image of on there, which is in our main campus. And then another idea, which we've been tossing around, but we just haven't had time to build, is collaborative web surfing, right? You can build a gadget is essentially an iframe, which points to a URL. And you can change that URL in the wave dynamically. So that makes, that opens up the possibility of collaborative surfing with participants on the wave. And that could be really interesting as well. So let's talk, actually, we're going to skip the demo because for time. And we're going to talk about robots. So robots, you'll find that whenever, you guys will have a question, we'll be up here on the panel, and you say, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? Inevitably and invariably, the answer will be robots, right? They solve all kinds of problems. We love them. That's the world peace or world domination. We're not sure yet. But like I said, they do solve a lot of problems. This is a picture of giant robot, by the way. I just searched Google Images. Yeah, you guys, yep, Johnny Sacco, Buckethead. All right. So let's talk about architecture real quick. Now, I just want to mention that Marcel, my colleague here, is going to be giving a in-depth look at robots. And he'll also be showing this, but he'll be talking a bit more about it. But essentially, this is the flow, is that what the client sees is being synchronized with the wave server. The wave server is then broadcasting events on operations and such to our robot proxy, which lives on our server, and then is broadcast out to your robots. So your robots get events. Based on those events, you can respond with various operations. Those operations are basically anything that any participant on the wave can do, any human participant. You can edit blips, you can add blips, you can reply, change colors, stylings, and so on. Robots can do all the same things. So, just a quick bullet or quick couple points. So, sorry guys. Okay, so robots live in the cloud. As I mentioned, they're essentially servers. They're external participants. Just like you're a participant on the wave, your robot is also a participant on the wave. Sometimes it's hard, for really smart robots, it's hard to even tell the difference, which is good. They have full access to the wave, just like you do. Except, of course, for what we have are private wavelets, private replies, so on and so forth. Your robot only has access to those if you add them, just like any other participant. As I mentioned, they respond to events on the wave. That's when you submit your operations, whatever you want to do. And today they're only available for Java and Python, or there are only Java and Python APIs, only available on Google App Engine. This is a temporary restriction. We're going to be opening up that at some point in the future. I know that there's a Ruby API already in development, and who knows, probably PHP and Perl. I don't know why I'd do that, but it's just my opinion. So let's talk about robots versus gadgets real quick. Robot is a participant in the wave. A gadget actually lives in the wave. Robots are participants. Gadgets are elements. They're nothing more than a text character, right? We just represent a text character with text, but a gadget is represented as a gadget. So just like anything that lives in the wave, this is how we render it. What we call doodads internally. A robot runs in the cloud. Gadget runs on the client's browser. I'm sorry, I didn't even touch it. The robot interacts with the wave. Gadget interacts with the user and then changes its own state. And again, the robot has a complete view of the wavelet it's a part of, and a gadget has a limited view, can only modify its state. That also means that robots can actually modify gadgets as well on the fly, which is what I mentioned.
Does it also mean that with gadgets, since it can modify
Yes. So the question is, can the gadget updates get broadcast to the robot? Yes, this is a good point. I just want to mention that just like any if you add a text character, your robot knows about it. If you modify the state of your gadget, if it gets modified, the robot knows about it, and this is key for building an authoritative server. You can change a gadget, robot can go, no, 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 that's not happening, change it back. Robot always gets the last laugh. 2 robots are chained together, and we have a good solution for that. They go in order right now, in the order in which they were added. So we have actually had, the question was, what about 2 robots? We've actually had robot battles internally. It's quite entertaining. Yeah. Okay, so here's a quick robot code. I chose Python, right? So that I don't have to do this in 29 slides. The joke never gets old. I've used it in every talk. I don't know. Okay, so you notice we don't have emoticons in Wave, right? But you can easily build a robot to handle that for you. So what this does is Python code reads like English. I'm assuming, even if you've not done Python, should be pretty simple to follow. But what's happening is I'm building a robot named Smiley. I'm registering a handler which says, I want to know when a blip is submitted. When that blip is submitted, I get a callback that tells me what the contents of that blip were. So anytime I change any blip, that content gets posted to my robot. Now the robot's going to go in, scan for any, smiley face, emoticons, and replace it with the actual Unicode character of that smiley, or of that, representing that smiley, right? See, happy and sad, simple. It now sets the text back. What, I'm sorry? Yes, they are wrong. I added those at the last second. It's a test. Comments are swapped. You see that's not a happy face. But anyway, still does the same thing, right? Yes, and this works. And I will actually show this right now because it's been a while since I've given a demo. So let's go a new wave. Where are the smileys? I'm going to add smiley. You'll notice his name is Yasser. That's for yet another smiley robot because everyone pretty much starts out with a smiley robot. Smiley, smiley, smiley. Oh, I lost my cursor. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, this is out of date. He only responds to smileys with noses. Go! Yeah, so uploading waves means, well, essentially it's servers waiting to get my updates. And don't close your browser. Yes, boom. Stole my thunder. Uploading waves, when you see that, do not close your wave because probably hasn't been updated on the server. Now I'm sad. Actually, I wonder, try something. Don't do this to me. Oh! Fail. Anyway. I don't know. Not much code there. Can't expect too much. Okay, let's move on. All right, I already gave a demo. I'm going to give 2 more demos. Questions, please hold on if possible. I'm going to get through this, and then I'll see if I have time for me to take some questions. Okay, so if you're here, someone created a Swedish chef robot. Not here, okay. I don't know who did it. I noticed it a few days ago. I thought it was awesome. I'm going to show that. Let's show that right now. Real quick, if you're curious, the robot's name is, well, let's do this. Hey, everyone. Actually, he's going to erase the title, so we're going to Hey everyone. Welcome to the Google Wave Hackathon. That's all the text I got. Okay, so there's a robot named Bork Force 1. I don't know if you know about Swedish Chef. If you don't, YouTube. But it's pretty funny. Okay, so here he is. I'm going to add him. And he's going to rewrite my sentence for me, actually. And that's how he talks, essentially. You can see, welcome to the Google, whatever. So anything I write here, I don't know what to say, guys. I don't even know. This is a cool blip. Hello world. Been done. Oh! Yeah, he does actually add those. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this, take some of this text here. Did I lose it? I lost it. If anyone wants to write a Pig Latin robot, that'd be cool to demo. Cool. So he's got a rather extensive dictionary, actually, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, so that's Swedish Chef Bot. So let me tell you a quick story. So I love Python. That's all I can say. So I built a robot called Monty, right? And Monty runs Python code, which was really easy to write in Wave. And then someone else from a different hackathon wrote a bot called Syntaxy, which highlights Python code. And I decided to put them together. And it was a match made in robot heaven, as you can see. So let's take a look at that. And this, again, answers the question of multiple robots on a wave actually working together for good. So I have this canned thing. Let me make this a little bit less. There we go. Okay, so here's a quick, it would have been much cooler if I'd written this code on the fly, but for time, I wrote a simple Fibonacci calculator. And you can see that Monty outputs some data, and the text is highlighted, so I can come in here and go, hello world, highlighted, and then I will call that function instead. Go. There we go. So there's the output from Monty. It also fully checks syntax, right? Sorry, I did not understand that. I should also point out that Monty usually just replies to the same blip. I made a change at the last minute, and there's a bug in it, and that's why it's appending. So that's my fault. Just FYI. Oh, I also want to point out, this is our beloved Dr. Wave. He's on the Wave team. This is his avatar, as you can see. That's Dr. Wave. Oh, perfect timing. He thought my my demo was cool, as noted by his comment. Okay, let's keep going. So here's some ideas for you. Calculator bot, right? I should be able to write calc and just compute some big expression. I don't know how many times I'm writing an email or an IM, I switch over to calculator, compute something, and then, keep looking back and forth and type it back in. I should be able to just do it right in the Wave, right? And have it just replace my expression with the actual value. Fact-checking bot. Well, we have Spelly and we have Linky. If I say Christopher Columbus discovered America in 1491, it should correct me and put 1492, right? I think that's right. I don't know. Do that by perhaps searching Google, scrubbing links, or scrubbing results, so on and so forth. Spam deleting bot. If someone, goes into your Wave and adds all kinds of spam and links and whatever, Spammy should be able to detect that and delete it. That'd be interesting. So I mentioned robot battles. I actually built a Terminator robot that just destroys all the robots by removing them from the wave. We actually have another bot like that called Bouncy that bounces robots from the wave. He's a bouncer. That really does nothing. I just thought I'd put it up there. Publishy is a bot that would essentially take the contents of a wave, publish them to and will send them to your external database, kind of a snapshot of wave content for you to be able to get to later and store or serve up statically, or even, like I mentioned, for embedding. And then finally, one that we've all been, everyone asks about is email integration. There's nothing today stopping you from actually building a robot that integrates with SMTP, POP3, whatever, for email integration. And so that's another opportunity as well. I'm sorry? Yeah. Yes. So the question is, are spell checkers and translators implemented as robots? Yes. In fact, Linky, Spelly, all of these are robots that we've built internally. They have essentially access to the same API. Maybe a couple of little things. Spelly can add little doodads and little images and highlight text and stuff. So that we've actually built out, but we're going to be extending and allowing you to do that as well. But in terms of functionality, there's essentially nothing that we've done that you can't do with your own robots. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to take this question and I'm going to keep going. The question is chaining robots. Is it implied by the order you add them? I think today it is. It is by order because I do know that Monty, I add Syntaxy first. Syntaxy modifies content and then gets submitted over to Monty, and Monty submits the result. If it was the opposite, well, it would be the opposite. It would still work, but sometimes that's important. Order is important. So if you add Swedish Chef and Pig Latin, Robot, and I don't know, something else, it would go in that order. You end up with some weird Swedish Chef Pig Latin. Okay, this is what I want to talk about real quick. Very important. This is a new feature. We actually had it before. It just wasn't surfaced, and now we have a better story for this. Extensions. How do you share your gadgets? How do you share your robots, right? So purpose of extension is to be able to extend our client. We want you to be able to add toolbar buttons, add links, so on and so forth. Create a richer, more personalized experience for each user. Each user can have their own extensions. In Gmail today we have labs that allow you to enable and disable certain extensions that we've built. Well, in Wave you can build these extensions and give them to other people.
You can build them in Gmail too.
Yes, those gadgets. And then share and deploy them, right? You need to be able to deploy your applications. So I'm going to give a quick, I'm going to give a quick demo of this. Right. So again, this is debug menu, another debug menu feature. So I built this extension. Actually, yeah. Okay, let's do that. Sorry, guys. Yes, I cannot see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is a manifest URL. I'm going to go into a little bit detail of that in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and add an extension. Don't worry, it'll come back, I'm sure. Yes, you could. Sorry, guys. I'm going to increase the font size for you. Okay, so this is an extension that's denoted by a puzzle piece, and really all this is it's completely described by the XML format. What this does is it creates an extension that extends my client, keep saying that, it extends my client with a handy little doodad that will allow me, well, here's what it does, right? It says right there, whenever it creates a new wave, it will add me and my friends, my people who work here in Mountain View on Wave. Oh man, terrible. Need someone to just hold this. I'm the author, and so I'm going to come down here and just show you. I'm going to click install. I'm going to do it again. Hold. Okay, I'm reconnecting. I disconnected. I don't think my wave was actually submitted, so let's try this again. Sorry guys, bear with. Bear with. Maybe this is it. Okay. Oh, that's a nice error message when it fails to load, which happens sometimes. Yes. I keep getting disconnected. It's all you guys. Although I am on the thing, so. The RJ, the Cat5, interwebs. Let's move on, because I don't need an internet connection. Okay, so extension API, right? As I mentioned, it's XML based. It's a declarative language. There are two things when you're creating an extension to know about: hooks and actions. So hooks are declaring what you want the client to listen on, right? Either adding a new wave button, adding a new button to the toolbar, various keyboard shortcuts, which are not implemented yet, and then macros and regular expressions and so on, again, not implemented yet, coming soon. So as you're typing something, you should be able to have a signal, which then you can do something interesting with, and that's where actions come in. You can insert a gadget, you can add a participant, create a new wave, apply annotation, so on and so forth. We're always open to new ideas for actions. But what's most important is add a participant, or one of the most important is add a participant. So when I type something, or a certain regular expression, or I do something, I can actually add a robot. So if I type calc, and then whatever, it would automatically add the calculator robot, so I don't have to manually go and add it. So there's all kinds of things you can do with that. Here's an example of the XML. Notice it's very similar kind of to a gadget spec XML somewhat. I'm creating an extension called Mappy that inserts a map gadget. I'm giving it a thumbnail URL. You noticed with the image that it had some faces on there. That's that image, what to associate with your extension, and a version number, and that's for caching. I'm the author. That's not my email address. And I'm saying I want to hook into that XML is broken. There's a missing end tag. That's okay. I'm creating a menu hook, and I want to say insert a map gadget. Here's the URL to use for my little button, which we'll grab, store, and display on the user's account. Otherwise, we'll use a default button. And when that's clicked, insert a gadget, and here's the gadget URL to insert. And it inserts it right where the cursor's at, and so on. And we're going to be adding more options for this. The other thing is you can add multiple hooks into here, so you can have another menu hook or a regular expression hook and do something else. But this is essentially a bundle that you'll then share. And when someone clicks the install button, it's active on their client. It's stored it's actually backed by a wave and stored. And your client, every time you open, will read that wave and install that extension. And then you can uninstall with the same button. How to. This is actually where the demo is supposed to be. So you publicly just make your extension available. You can add it via the debug menu, just as I showed, where you will go to the debug menu, click add extension, and then paste your extension URL. Someone's on VC. Make sure to test it. Click the install button, make sure it works, and then add people. It's as simple as that, really. Oh. Let's switch back real quick and see. Oh, it did do something. install. Hate you.
You want to jump into the roadmap?
Yes, let's do it. Okay. I know what's wrong with that. It's my fault, by the way. It does work, I promise. Roadmap, but wait, there's more. Okay, just some recent features I want to mention. Extensions, which I showed you, which I swear work and are really cool and exciting. The Java Robot API, we just open sourced that, right? We've been wanting to do that for a while. It's now available. Here's the link. We encourage you to contribute, to make modifications, do what you need to do. Python Robot API has been updated. You notice there wasn't parity. I don't know if, well, there wasn't parity between the robot or the Python API and the Java API. Java API was a bit more advanced. We've sped up the Python API and gotten a bit closer. There's a few things that are not implemented, but we encourage you to look at the Java code if you're so inclined. Actually a real nice thing that anyone could do is look at the Java API and just port it to Python and contribute it. So that would be cool. The other thing is you can only add text content to the wave. We've added support for adding markup, so you can just grab some random HTML and submit it into a blip, and we'll format it and make it all nice without you having to explicitly add annotations and so on. So we're really excited about that. And there's other things too which didn't fit on the slide. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to add in the next, in the upcoming. So you notice Lars mentioned that we're going to be extending to consumers in a limited form on September 30th. Well, there's a number of things we still want to add, and we still want you to have access to, so that you can, get your extensions out there and available to consumers. So embedding. This is a picture of the future. Somehow I did a Google search. So read-only anonymous access, right? As I mentioned before, you have to have a Wave Sandbox account to be able to see a wave embedded in a website. It's kind of lame. We want you to be able to see, anyone to be able to go to your web page, see a wave, interact with it in some form, and without having a Sandbox account. Now, I mentioned this is a stretch goal because it's more of a issue with scalability for us, but we're really looking at solutions on that, and we'd like to have that ready. And then expanded UR configuration. You should be able to just do more rather than change the color and the background color and so on. We really want you to be able to embed it and make it look a lot like your site. And we're working on that as well. And then also be able to show other components rather than just a wave. The inbox maybe, which has a relevant search, and toolbars and participants on the wave, and so on. So, future of gadgets. So that's a future gadget right there, the Chrome OS netbook. So UI improvements. We want you to be able to add menus over your gadgets. We're actually working on this right now, such that when you highlight over or hover over a gadget, you should be able to have a drop-down menu where you can copy it, share it, delete it, so on. And maybe you can also add things. We want to speed up gadget rendering. We want to make it as fast as possible, such that when you open the wave, you see the gadget immediately. Because right now there's about a 1 to 2 second delay, which is just not good enough. Open social support. If you're familiar with the Open Social API, you can get your friends, you can get your friends' friends, so on and so forth. And we want you to be able to do that, right? And that's going to map nicely onto Wave, such as a wave would be a person as well. So if you get your wave, get the wave's friends, guess what? You get the participants. If you get your friends, you get your contacts, and so on. So hopefully we'll see Buddy Poke in Wave soon after that. We want diff on open and playback state mode for gadgets. What that means is with your gadget, you should be able to tell if the user's in playback, right? You can do interesting things with that. Display more information, change the time, whatever. And then GWT-based gadgets. Google Wave was built using GWT. It only makes sense to be able to build your gadgets using Google Web Toolkit, which is what we call GWT internally. And that's coming. There's an API coming for that. And, right now it's JavaScript and HTML, but we think when it becomes more common to develop gadgets with Google Web Toolkit, we'll see some really interesting gadgets. and the future of robots, Skynet. This is the roadmap for the robots. We're pushing out a new wire protocol. It's not quite public. All you really have to do is look at the Python code right now to get a sense of the format, which is JSON based. But we haven't really published it because we're just not happy with it yet. But that's coming really soon. And we're calling that point 2. We're going to publish that first for your feedback. And then we're going to use that to implement parity between the Java and Python API moving forward. Internal speed improvements. So App Engine currently today is where you host your robots, right? And Google Wave is hosted here at Google. So you would assume that the latency between robots hosted here and Google Wave should be extremely fast. Well, it should be, and we have a solution for that. And then, of course, later on, if you want to host your own robots on your own server, then that's just going to be the standard latency over HTTP. So there should be a real benefit for using App Engine, other than scalability and all the other cool things that come with App Engine. We want to allow your robot to access a wave directly. So yeah, so I hold on to that, and I'd love to talk about that. So Robot Gateway, your robot should be able to contact Wave servers directly rather than working on a callback basis, which Marcel will go into. Access to OAuth controlled resources, right? OAuth, you can get access to Twitter, PhotoBucket, so on, Blogger. We're building a gateway to allow your robot to authenticate on behalf of the user that's logged into Wave. Accessing multiple waves at once. Again, this is a limitation currently of the Robot API. Robots should be able to search various waves, should be able to edit multiple waves all at once. So robots use a cron system right now. We have a built-in cron system. We're going to sunset that, meaning we're going to get rid of that, deprecate it. And we're going to, it's obviously in favor of your robots just being able to access the Wave server directly using authentication and so on. And I did mention already, this goes in line with the gateway support, but your robot should be able to act on behalf and get more information about the user that's interacting with Wave. And we're going to add more support for that as well. So the point is, there's going to be we're committed to making the Robot API awesome, even more awesome than it is. We have a ton of plans, a ton of ideas, always looking for feedback. We believe there's a future in this API for sure. Then extensions. We'll hold off on questions for now.
We take questions from the panel.
I know you guys are. I love that you guys have questions. Can't wait. Okay, extensions. I just want to mention that you saw how you can create an extension, you can add an extension and share with people. We want you to be able to easily discover other public extensions, so perhaps a public wave where you can add your extensions or whichever, where we're still figuring that out. A browsing experience. There should be a directory for gadgets and robots and extensions. I want to point out, I meant to put this on my slide, but we do have an external web page, which is linked from the Code API site, which we have a gallery externally. It's called the Wave Samples Gallery. So you can go there today and see some cool gadgets and robots if you want to get some ideas. Lars mentioned extension marketplace. We think this is a really promising avenue for us to go down, right? Google typically, a lot of our services, we make money from ads and placing ads on our sites. We think the developers can benefit from a more marketplace-like scenario, right? Your cool robot that you put a lot of effort into, you should be able to, publish that and use that to make money and create a business out of. Right. Finally, user management. You should be able to easily see what extensions you have installed, so on and so forth. This is more of a UI improvement. And then we're going to expand the extension system based on your feedback and based on the new APIs that come about. Right. So these are some robots, Spelly, Digesties, whatever. Anyway, this robot is yours at the top, which you have to build today. He's the biggest. He's the coolest. I just want to say thank you for listening. I had a lot to cover, and that's it. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to bring up my colleague, Marcel. He's actually the man behind